Good morning, sports fans. Today is Monday, March 30th, 2026. You're watching RateGame Live with Nick Mark George. That's me. This is the show. It is a sports show, unlike any other. Nobody else is doing what we're doing. Here's why. You, the sports fans, are out in the world watching your sports games. You're then rating those games. You're grading them on a little app called RateGame. It's an app that I made. It's an app that we use. We take those ratings and we form the show. So this is very much a show for the fans, by a fan, live every morning around 8:30 EST. So how do we kick things off? What do we do? Well, we try and answer a simple question every morning after I clear my throat. And that question is this: were the sports good? Very simple. And it's binary. We try and say yes, no, sometimes in between. So last night, anything happened? Anything happened in the sports world? I feel like that's such a dad thing to say. Anything happened last night? Anything special? Well, beyond the game, the shot, the moment that everyone will be talking about for the foreseeable future, there were some other games, believe it or not. There were some other games besides that one. Although it does feel in the sports world when something like that happens, specifically on the timeline, everything is just concentrated on the reactions, the shot, the different takes. And we'll get into it today. But want to answer that question first and foremost: were the sports good? We got a little graphic to support us. There it is. Last night, 7.02. We include the little decimal point because I think it is necessary, because there's some nights and some days where it's going to be close, it's going to be a tie. So we like to have, that actual metric out of 100, we'll say. So 7.02, that is a good night. We had 4 leagues in action, 29 games, 742 total ratings submitted. That counted for the window of last night. So we'll get into this in the next segment, but right now, that's what we're looking at. Scrolling down, and we have the leagues that were in action. March Madness, 2 games, 1 not good, a certified stinker, 1 an instant classic. Actually, that's interesting. I don't think we've ever seen 2 games that are so opposite in just the overall nature and the outcome. We had one that was just open and shut pretty much from the tip, and then one that was, as we'll look into it, one of the greatest games on RateGame, one of the greatest games maybe in sports history. So we had a 7.4 for those 2, obviously buoyed by the instant classic that was. Baseball, 6.49. 12 games yesterday was a nice close to the opening weekend for Major League Baseball. One of the best opening weekends I can remember. 254 ratings there. We had 9 games in the NBA last night, including what I hope is not a finals preview, because if it is OKC and the Knicks in the NBA finals, the Knicks are in trouble. I'm very much counting on the alien in San Antonio to take care of Oklahoma City and transport them to a galaxy far, far away so that the Knicks do not have to encounter them in the finals. And then we also had hockey. So hockey is just doing its thing. Folks, don't mind hockey. They are having a grand old time there. 7.5. Every time I log on or I hit the hockey land in RateGame, the games seem to be off the chain. So good on you, puck pals. I see you. We'll get to you. But more important business: the road to 1 million. So after we say, how are the sports? Were the sports good? We then go to our little tracker, our little counter, and we have 2 things that we're looking at. So breaking this up, right, we're looking at the total ratings on the platform since the dawn of RateGame, which is March 19th, 2024. That is when we started this whole thing. We got 203,000 ratings and change. Last 24 hours. So this is inclusive of games that occurred yesterday, and for anybody who was on and going through the archive and being an archivist and rating games of yesteryear, we had over 1,300 ratings. So for the month of March, we are coming up on 38,000 ratings in a single month. That, I think, is almost 2x the previous record in December of last year. So the growth is phenomenal. The growth cannot be denied, folks. And as we look ahead, as we go toward and try and take down this massive goal of 1 million ratings, we're going to do it day by day, brick by brick, rating by rating. On the road, the next stop is going to be 300,000. We're 3.6% of the way there. And looking at the big number, the pie in the sky, the 7-figure double comma, 1 million, 20.4% of the way there. That's 203,000 ratings. We got 796,000 ratings left to go. So thank you for those who are with us, who are rating games. If that's not you, join us. It's free. I feel like that should be like an ad read for RateGame right there. We should, I'm talking to my producer. We should, and now I'm getting so we also have some signals here. Off camera, you can't see this, but now you can. This is the awkward octopus. I get the little flash. My producer just like raises this up when she thinks that I'm going off script and not sticking to it. So that's what just happened there, but we move on. All right. The next order of business. Yeah. So. You want to talk about Instant Classic? We'll go right into it. I think the segment and the flow is we'll get right into what the people want. Last night was one for the ages. You've no doubt seen all of the videos, or maybe you haven't. There's more to come out, I'm sure. But the beauty of living in the social media day and age is that we can get the instant reactions. We can see everything on replay right away. So looking at this wonderful montage, somebody already put together a 4-minute montage of every single reaction you could possibly ever want, from Shire to Hurley to Mullen's parents to guys in the studio to Rafferty, Ian Eagle. Literally no stone unturned in a 4-minute, 12-second video dedicated to just people's reactions of the shot. So rather than play that whole thing, I do want to show you my favorite little 5-second little shot of guess who. So this is Dan Hurley once he's trying to go shake the hands of poor John Shire. But before then. It's the ref. That's the ref. Why is he putting his head on the ref? Sorry. Oh, mute the video. Oh, it does. Sorry. Look at him. Look at this psycho. Mute the sound on the video. Even though the sound's low. So that the mic works. Got it. Okay. Studio. God. Ref's like, what are you doing, dude? Why are you doing that? You can't do that. I mean, the game's over, so he can't get in trouble or anything. Why did he do that? Why not? Because he's a nut job. Because he's absolutely off his rocker. Look at his jacket. Show us one more time. Look at his jacket. His jacket's not even. The ref's like, what? It's like, what? Is he gonna fight me? I was like, okay. God, he's like, right? Like right up against you. Like he's on the team or something. Like, hey, I'm just the ref. Oh my God. What a nut job. Jacket off. He is just like such a special soul, man. He just had so many sound bites after this. So yeah, that was whoopsies. Totally lost it. Here we go. All right, so let's get into the actual game. So we had my picture updated. One of the cool little things that I love about games like this is when they get their own backsplash, their own like custom stadium image, which I'll just source. I just go on X. I look for either somebody who is there, or usually like within 24 hours, you'll get photos from the press, people that were actually like, sitting on the side, the baseline, taking photos with like their really expensive Canon or their, their Nikons. And then I will make sure that we get a cinematic backsplash stadium shot because instant classics deserve it. So this is a 9-6 right now. 263 fans have rated this one. I had Duke. So such is the story for me this March Madness. I just cannot pick a game for the life of me. I think I'm still way off the leaderboard. Records were broken, not the kind of records that you want to break in this game. So prior to last night, and we probably know the stat by now, but every number 1 seed in the tournament who had a lead of more than 15 points at halftime. So that's a pretty diabolical stat. I actually, when stats start to get like longer than a couple sentences, you start to shake your head and you're like, what are we doing here? But this is actually crazy. So for every number 1 seed that's ever had a lead of 15 points or more, they have never lost until last night. And Duke was up by 19. This game, I was really angry after the first game, but I was kind of like, okay, whatever. There's no way that Duke and UConn is going to be like this. For about 30 minutes there, 30 minutes of actual game time, about an hour and a half, it was like Duke had this in hand at halftime, certainly. And I just didn't know how UConn was even going to make a game of it, because the only guy for those 30 minutes who was in the trenches doing everything that he possibly could was Terrace Reed. And obviously all the flowers are going to go to Mullins. Obviously, that shot is insane. Shot is one of the best shots in college basketball history. But he doesn't get to take that shot if Terrace Reed is not doing trench warfare for 30 minutes and saying, I don't care. I don't care how bad we're losing. I'm still going to give it my all. The guy was incredible every time. And like Duke could not do anything about this guy. Double team, triple team. He was making passes. I've never seen the guy pass like that this entire tournament. Graceful down there. I think he ended up with like 4 or 5 assists. And thank you. We probably need a symbol for that one. Don't acknowledge. She doesn't want to acknowledge. She's not here, folks. I'm not talking to anybody off camera, actually. There's nobody here. So going back up here, 9-6. Neutrals graded it a 9-7. Duke fans, 7-2. UConn fans, 9-8. If you're a UConn fan, how's that not a 10? Like, what are you missing here? Yeah, who didn't rate it a 10? Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Steven knows sports. The number 5 UConn fan. Maybe we'll have him on the show. We'll have him on the program. Yeah, explain that. I need to understand the 9-3. Yeah. Duke fans, let's see where we at here. What's going on? Let's check in. All right, college basketball fan. I did want to call this out. True to the handle. The username checks out. Heartbreak. He's the number 2 Duke fan on RateGame. And he gave it a 10. That's what we're looking for. That's an incredible, that takes guts. That takes chutzpah, as we say, to give that a 10 when your team loses. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. It would hurt too much. I probably wouldn't rate it for a while. I'd need some time. I would not try and come here to fire one off because it would hurt too much, especially like that. I mean, see, okay, so you basically have two different sports fans here. So you have college basketball fan giving it the 10, number 2 Duke fan. Then you have Shoot the Rock, who's down bad. He had to cool down so I can keep my rating PG after Duke once again suffers another generational choke job. I would like to announce that I will no longer be the number 1 Duke fan on this app, and he's entering the transfer portal. So, breaking news, Shoot the Rock is relinquishing his number one. Probably go to College Basketball Fan. He's a free agent, folks. Tough out there. It's tough out there if you're a Duke fan. Also, that meme from White Lotus, which was sitting in everybody's holster, all of a sudden just flooded the timeline. And what the hell just happened? Yeah. So an all-timer, folks. We're going to be thinking about this one for. Oh, so Jimmer was there. Jimmer Range, the number one guy on the Pick'em leaderboard, creator, partner, friend of the program, at the game, attended the game. I cannot believe the people that were in that building on both sides. Like, if you're a UConn fan, that's got to be pure euphoria. And if you're a Duke fan, that's probably shocking. This is the only way I can describe it. It's probably like you've just seen something absolutely terrible. And, I imagine that it's almost like a sensory overload with it's like you're at a loss for words. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to react. All right. So watching this game live with you, with my producer, who shall not be named. So now you want the shine?
No, I'm just saying.
What are you saying?
Nothing.
Molly, my producer and wife. We were jumping up and down, very excited. And I think the natural reaction that I had was like, wow, where is this going to land in the archives of RateGame? And more so, what are the things when we look across the table and like the leaderboard of the games, what makes an instant classic? Like, what are the signals that we have on RateGame where if they're starting to hit these things, it is a certified bona fide one for all time, not just in the immediacy, but in the weeks, months, years that will certainly follow. So I went into the lab and I used Claude. I used Claude to help me create and craft what we're about to take a look into. This is the first ever data journalism piece on RateGame. It's called What Makes an Instant Classic. So, looking at last night, you have the Huskies and the Devils, okay? You have this as a 9-6. Right now, I think there's over now 260, we're approaching 270 ratings, 263 when we were just looking at it. And so the definition here, and kind of like the two vectors that we're looking at, if we're to plot this on a graph, is a rating of 9.0 or above and 100 fans rating it within the first hour. So from the time that the game ends, how quickly can it reach 100 ratings? And once it does it maintain that 9.0? So those are the two signals that make RateGame so unique, because once a game like this happens, the first thing that you want to do, if you're a user of RateGame, is you want to rate the game. You want to get it off. You want to lock in how you're feeling and say what you want to say and kind of express yourself. There's no better feeling than swiping that green bar up and locking in a 10. So the velocity here is really the separator. This is like the key differentiator. Once it's a great game, obviously we know that there's going to be a lot of high ratings because the neutrals will kind of carry that, right? They'll outweigh the losing team, the heartbreak. So what we're looking for here is how quickly can it get there? And this game shattered all previous records. So within the first hour of the game ending, we had 179 ratings, which beat the previous record, which happened in this March Madness with TCU and Ohio State by over 40, almost 50 ratings. So this thing is a rocket ship. And if you're looking at this list, all these games here, absolute instant classics. You had the double buzzer beater with Kentucky and Santa Clara. You had this in round one with the TCU comeback. You had Purdue and Texas. You had Vandy, Nebraska, and that one was like late at night. So when you're like plotting this, you can start to say, sorry, when you're plotting this, you can start to say, okay, where do we think this will end up on the all-time most rated list? Right now, in the first 24 hours, because we're still not even a full day elapsed, it's looking like this will net out somewhere in the range of 400 to 450 ratings in the first week, which would be, that would shatter the Vandy Nebraska game that was just set last week. So I think going forward, this will be just like such a cool thing to look at as we can start to take games like this, use them as the benchmark, and then measure other incredible games as they come into the lexicon. And that is to say, right? So in RateGame's history, there's been over 17,000 games. Think about that. In just 2 years, 17,000 games. There's less than 70 games all time in RateGame's database that even qualify for this. So if we do quick maths, I think that's less than a half of a percent of all games. Can you give me my phone real quick? I just want to do this. Why can't we calculate it? I just want to see. Thank you, my producer. Okay, so I think it was 64 by 17,000. Oh my gosh. 0.03% of all games. 0.03% of all games on RateGame qualify as an instant classic. That's phenomenal. That's crazy. And we've only been around for 2 years. This is our third year. Looking at, and the final thing we'll close with on this instant classic segment, this first ever data journalism piece here on RateGame, is the all-time most rated games. 2 of them, the Super Bowls, don't meet the criteria. So there is a difference between a game that everybody's watching and not just getting by default the volume, and an instant classic. The most instant classic of instant classics is the gold medal game, USA Canada, right? So this game is in that conversation, certainly. I think it elevates, if we're later, if this is a Final Four, certainly a championship, because USA Canada was for the gold medal, right? That's kind of like the apex. And there's levels to this, obviously. But it's reassuring to see that the Super Bowl doesn't qualify. Both Super Bowls on RateGame do not qualify. Simply because of the Super Bowl and they have the volume, they're not going to meet the criteria of being a 9.0 or above. Not instant classics. Very forgettable. Big time yellows. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that. I know my producer did. Back to business. And we will check on that game. We'll see how it's doing throughout the course of the week. We had other games in action last night. We had the Toronto Raptors go on a 31-0 run. They scored 31 points in a row against the poor Orlando Magic. And I think the Raptors, who, good team, not a great team, to score 31 points in a row. I think they had the second largest win in franchise history against the Magic last night. I tried to pull up the video, but it was too long. Like to watch this video of them scoring 31 points unanswered would take us, I think, 2 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to mute this. That'll work, right? Okay, cool. My mic works, yeah, but the video.
You can put the sound, but just don't talk.
I think we need the sound. Don't talk, yeah, but I don't show this for. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Watching this in fast mode is crazy though. Look at this. 30-20. I think when the run was over, it was like 45-20. Not a single point. And this happened right away. So this game was over. This game was over before it even started. And usually in the NBA, even if you're down 20, that's not out of reach. If you're down, if a team goes on a 31-0 run, it's not your night. It's certainly not your night. So very, very interesting. That game got a 5-4. Impressive. Thought it would be much worse than that. The 31-0 will be remembered. Somebody's got to post it. I'm looking at you, Flame. All right, so okay, Monday rate slate, and then we're done. We got 12 people.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so let's look at the slate for tonight. No March Madness until next Saturday. Crazy how it just all of a sudden just is no more. So we'll take a look at the slate here. We got some MLB. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. NBA. NHL. So we got 3 leagues in action tonight, Monday night, getting us started for the week. Tomorrow we got the World Cup qualifier finals. We find out the 6 countries that will be joining the field of 42 to give us 48 total teams of the World Cup. Today is Monday, March 30th, 2026. Thank you for watching RateGame Live. My name is Nick Mark George. I'll see you tomorrow.